So welcome to the Baton Rouge user groups. We got, I think, a lot of new faces in here today, so I think we're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves. You know me, I'm Thomas LeBlanc. I help out with this group. I work at a company called SHI today. It's a joke because it changes sometimes. And I've been involved with this group a while. I do a lot of, now I do Azure, data warehousing, Fabric, Databricks today, but a variety of those things.
Matthew Jesse, I work for LSU Healthcare Services. Pretty much as a database administrator doing development for our I can't think, I've been on one of those internet death marches where Saturday and Sunday, the weekend is just another casual day at the office. That's what I've been doing.
So, Adam Hawley, work for a company called Sigma Engineers and Constructors. My title is rocket surgeon. Literally says that on my email if you ever email me. I'm the unlucky one who didn't run fast enough when somebody said ODBC, so I'm here now.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Terrio. I'm the data warehouse manager and architect at Genesis, which was just acquired by Baton, so hopefully I can continue to say that in the next few months.
Hi, I'm Ty Watson. I work at Lamar with John. I'm a software developer.
I'm Derek Link, software developer, moving back from Virginia, so just getting back to the area.
I'm Ava Alley. I'm currently a student at Ops Park, and I'm a full stack developer.
Jeremy Johnson. I do data analytics, Power BI, Fabric, that kind of stuff, and I'm now self-employed, doing consulting work for
I'm Nicholas Kramer. I'm actually from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm just kind of visiting my old boss here. I basically work for Emerging Method as a data analytics consultant.
I'm Ryan McDonald. I work for a company called Rouge out of Houston. I kind of do half DevOps and then half data engineering work, most of it like Databricks, PySpark, that sort of thing.
Yep, I'm Corey Taylor, work for a company called SQL Solutions. We provide telecommunications software to telecommunications companies. I do ETL development and software activations, conversions, and integration.
My name's Martin. Work at Compliance and BRSSUG here at Rouge. Part of the company's data management team, which we have to deal with a lot of our SQL Python, that sort of thing. So that's our expertise.
I'm Nathan. I have a bachelor's degree in IT from Southeastern. I'm also doing
I'm Kenny Neal. I'm a site reliability engineer at Louisiana BRUG, Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever it's called now. I was the one tricked into running this group after the last guy quit. That's pretty much it.
I'm Andy. I do data engineering, fabric engineering at MMR Construction Group.
All right, so if you don't know anything about our group, this used to be actually two different IT groups. One was called the SQL Server, Baton Rouge SQL Server user group, and the other was called the Baton Rouge.net user group. At one point, we kind of merged together. We used to meet at the tech park off Florida Boulevard in Bon Carré. And we used to split up into two groups today. We usually just have one meeting. That's because we don't have a lot of speakers. So this is the call for speakers. If you would like to do a talk in one of these, please see one of us. You can email us. We have a sessionized site where you can put your talks inside of there to give us better description of you and your talk. It's good to use sessionized too because it keeps a history of all the ones you've submitted. If you want to submit for different events, you can always go up and pull up all the old ones. Plus, it gives you a lot of statistics. Plus, our user group uses it as well as SQL Saturday. Another plug is a lot of data people. It sounded like, and a couple of developers. So we still want the development group to stick around. So if you want to volunteer to do that, you can step up into that position of lead of that group. We've got a bunch of resources you can use, including us, to keep that one going and to kind of promote it more to the developers than what we do, which really the data. You were going to say something?
Brain.
Oh, and Brain. Okay, so there's a third group, Baton Rouge Analytics and Intelligence Network. It's usually run by a guy named Balaji, who's not here right now. We meet the second Wednesday of every month. He sporadically meets as he gets speakers and or sponsors to do that. So if you want to do something analytics-wise, like ours is it had been for a while Microsoft data, Microsoft development. Now it's pretty much anything you want to do, IT related. I mean, we've got all kind of talks. Brain is more on the analytics side, with no specific foundation or company that it goes by. So that's a third option. So for those, and for the Baton Rouge User Group, we do something every year called SQL Saturday. Who here has not been to a SQL Saturday? Has not? Oh, yeah, I thought you already been. Okay. It's about half the group. So SQL Saturday is it's a free IT event. The word SQL's in there because it started like 20 years ago, and the brand name has not faded for some reason, and it's popular all over the United States. Corey was saying he's going to SQL Saturday. What's that?
They have them all over the world.
All over the world. Today, there's not as many outside of America called SQL Saturday. They're called Data Saturday. So when SQL Saturday was acquired by PASS, another group of people decided to do more of an open source, open community one called Data Saturday. So you'll see the ones overseas or outside America using the Data Saturday website, and you see the ones more in the United States focused here. But Corey's going to one in Houston. It's the first weekend in November, and SQL Saturday in Houston. It's in a Microsoft Tech Center where they have a bunch of speakers in there. So what ours is at LSU Business Education Center. Used to be at the SEBA Hall, the SEBA building. And last year we had about 11 or 12 tracks, 5 sessions of tracks, so we had 50 some odd sessions. There was probably at least 400 people there the whole day. We had about 20 sponsors. So people, companies, LA Blue, Invoke, which is a local development company, helped me with some more Antares, Tech Chicks, Rubric, Glean, who else?
The other PSC, Tristan's.
PCG was there. CGI out of Lafayette was there as well. So in this auditorium area, there's tables where all the sponsors are, and about 100 people sit in that one area the whole day, just networking. So, it's a free sessions, free lunch, sponsors there who are mostly there looking for employees. So if you're looking for a job, it's a real good thing. So if you want to get involved with that, we'll probably sit and chat after this meeting almost every month about the upcoming SQL Saturday. It won't be until July, August of next year, but it's never too early to start talking about that. So any other things we're going to give away?
Got a JetBrains license to give away. If you don't know what that is, you don't want it. I've also got some leftover SQL Saturday shirts for what I'm calling the lowest form of stolen valor. Those are the speaker shirts.
And so we have extra large. We have 3 extra larges and 2 double X's, just to know what the sizes are.
Those are small. I mean,
That's 7 total X's.
let's see. We don't promote it a lot, but we should do a better job. We have a Slack for the user groups that everybody's welcome to join, just to listen to us BS. We'll maybe put a link up to it later. What else? We're pretty active on LinkedIn, or fairly active. Matthew's in charge of our Facebook page, he just told me.
I just found out about it this week. I noticed the icon there and clicked it. Oh wait, I can log in.
Yeah, that word of mouth seems a whole lot better than us using social media.
It is promoting the 2017 SQL
Right,
Saturday.
I was gonna say, Matthew's been in charge of the Facebook page for a long time, we all just forgot.
So again, about the speakers, like John's coming to speak today. John's been involved with the user group for a long time, helped with SQL Saturdays. So we're glad he's here. He's doing something on SQL Server today, I'm assuming.
Of course.
Yeah, query performance. What was I going to say? Oh, so he's doing what's called a full session. Hour and a half, however long it takes him to get it done. If you're shy about speaking, you can do what we call a lightning round. You just pick a simple topic, do a 15-minute talk, and that could be before the full session. So if you want to just get your foot wet.
Next month, his daughter's going to do a lightning talk before our virtual presentation.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, she's going to do present her science fair project, which is the effects of parameterization on the efficiency and accuracy of small language models.
Holy cow, that was a lot. That's going to be a lightning round?
Yeah. It's basically to get her some confidence in presenting it.
That's wonderful. So, yeah, his daughter is going to come do a lightning round. So, I mean, that's how easy. It's not a heavy load. So don't feel as it's a burden to do it, but it's a good way to introduce it. I've been speaking at conferences now for, I don't know, a long time. And I do about 4 or 5 a year. And it's one of the best things that I've done in my whole career. It's helped me in different career paths. It brings me into conferences where I get to go sit in sessions and listen to new things or things that maybe a tweak or two of what I'm doing currently today. And it's just been a blessing to be able to do that. So I'm going to shut up now and let John take over.
All
Unless you
right.
have anything else.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Wells.
Hey. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I don't recognize everyone. I do recognize a lot of you. For those of you who do not know me, my name is John Wells. I've been in the DBA at Lamar Advertising now for 9 years. Hard to believe. We're also known as the default blame acceptor. That is the true definition of database administrator. That's my contact. If you have any questions about the presentation or ever questions about query performance, performance tuning is what I love to do. You can always send me an email and ask, but if you do, I ask that you at least give me some context, not just, hey, is a subquery better than a temp table, vice versa. The agenda is pretty simple today. We're going to go over 5 things. Set base first, row by agonizing row. We're going to talk about parallelism, internals, we'll do some indexing, and then we'll finish with sargability. Before I start though, I want to add a couple things, although Tom has already said it. As far as the user group, I was very active here 6 years ago before everything went south. I highly recommend coming here. It's a great tool to network, get your feet wet, force yourself to speak. Ty has 3 years. He's going to be up here in 3 years. So we're going to get the young developer to speak. But when you go out and speak, like Thomas, I saw Thomas speak before I even moved to Baton Rouge and was here in the group. So, and William as well. So it's a great way to network. And then, of course, I have to talk about SQL Saturday. Anyone who knows me knows I have a love affair with SQL Saturday. SQL Saturday has been very good for me, a great way to network, and actually how I got my job at Lamar. I drove from Bossier City, 2016 to SQL Saturday. I just happened to say something to the lady from Robert Half, and 6 weeks later I'm working at Lamar, and I've been here ever since. So I had to throw that out there. Ty, you got 3 years, and then we're going to get you up here. So anyways, let's get going. Set-based theory. So for those of you who are not aware, any relational database system like SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle is structured off of set theory. When you write your code, when you grab data, you want to grab it all at one time. You do not want to do the row by agonizing row in SQL Server. Now for your C# developers, I know you love your loops, I know you love your cursors, and they have their place. In SQL Server, they do not scale well as your table grows. The larger the data set, row by agonizing row stuff like loops, cursors, they will not scale. You won't be happy, the DBA won't be happy, and your users won't be happy. As far as scalar UDFs, who in here does not know what a scalar UDF is? Great, keep it that way. A scalar UDF, a user-defined function, is what someone once called, and I'll quote someone, he said, it might look pretty, it's easy to create, but they suck for performance in SQL Server. Again, as the data set grows, a scalar UDF, if you have that in your stored procedure and it points to any certain table, it has to hit that table, run one row at a time. So you have a billion rows of data, you have a stored procedure that's going to hit that with a scalar UDF, you could probably go get lunch and come back.
Yeah.
It's, see?
I went from a process that was using scalar functions or procedures and converted it to table functions, and we went from hours to minutes.
Right, and there it is. It's just a fact of life. It's one of those harsh things as a younger developer you might have to learn the hard way unless you listen to the DBA, or even better, take advantage of your DBA if you have one. I would love all my developers to always come to me. I can't say it always happens, but it's very easy to prevent. I can't remember your name.
Matthew.
Matthew, that's right. Matt, we were just talking to SQL Saturday too. But they just do not scale well. And triggers, same thing. I know triggers have a place. Sometimes you have to use them, fine. I personally think they're evil. And again, they do the same thing. For every row that trigger has to hit, even if it's 100, you're updating 100 rows, it's going to run 100 times to get that. So just keep that in mind if you're trigger happy, if you really like the triggers, you might think twice. Again, if you have to have them, I understand. If they tell us we have to have them in there, then we have to do it. But you're going to pay for it, okay? And then, of course, I always tell everyone, SQL Server is going to run your code exactly like you ask it to. So if you ask it to run like garbage, it's going to run like garbage. It will absolutely do what you ask. So as a DBA, what I would ask any developer, avoid row by agonizing row operators. Loops, cursors, scalar UDFs. Again, for those of you who don't know them or have never touched them, great, keep it that way. You'll be better off. Parallelism. So this is a topic that the developers, I know I try to explain them. Maybe my explanation isn't the greatest. But in SQL Server, we have two configuration settings. We have cost threshold for parallelism and then max stop of parallelism. The cost threshold is a number I set, or you do when you set up a SQL Server, that says if the cost of the subtree of the query cost hits this number, I want the max stop threads. And what that means is number of processors it will use. So if your max stop is 6 and your cost threshold hits that point on a query, it's going to want, the query optimizer is going to want to use 6 threads for that query. Now, parallelism can definitely boost your performance. It's not a bad thing. However, if you have excessive parallelism, if everything you run wants multiple threads, especially in a transaction environment, you're probably not going to have a good time. Parallelism can be your friend, but it can also work against you in the worst way, and we're going to point this stuff out here soon. So let's go down to it, okay? Internals. If you do not know this, the way SQL Server stores data is 8K data pages. The more data you enter, the more data pages grow. We want the least amount of data pages stored. When we query, we want to query the least amount of data pages. And for SQL Server loves memory. We cache a lot of our stuff. We want all our stuff in cache. We want to hold the least amount of data pages in cache as well. Fit as many rows as possible into each data page. Now, how do you do that? By the data types you choose. Take the time to choose wisely, because once you get the table done and you start working on it, it's going to be a lot harder to change it. The biggest one I talk about is varchar versus nvarchar. As you can see, varchar is the length of data entered plus 2 bytes, and varchar is 2 times the number of characters plus 2 bytes. So with nvarchar, if you have Unicode, obviously you need to use nvarchar. But what I always suggest, if you do not have Unicode, stay away from nvarchar. It's going to blow up your table. Again, if you have to have it, I understand. We can't do anything about it. But when you get up to 5 billion rows of data and you have nvarchar in a lot of columns, it's going to change the way things work. Indexing. Actually, one thing, what I did not say, I did not say one thing. I'm going over this stuff, and then we're going to do demos, okay? So I apologize for that. So as far as indexing, index duplicates. Whenever you create a non-clustered index, the key order matters, but the included column order do not matter. And I have a script that I'll show you, but duplicate index overhead obviously will hurt your performance. If you have 4 non-clustered indexes all with the same key, but they have the included columns in different orders, those are all the same thing. And I'll show you, it'll make more sense. Index your foreign keys. I am a big proponent, and some DBAs will disagree with this. I am a big proponent of outright indexing your foreign keys right off the bat. You can always track usage like any other index, but what I want you to think about is this. A primary key and foreign key, obviously you know how that works, it's connected. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the primary key will be your clustered index. So your primary key is indexed. The foreign key is not set up with an index off the bat. You have to add it. So when you're joining tables, you want both of those indexes on there. It will help performance. And then foreign key not trusted. I found this out kind of the hard way. A lot of people, like with warehouse people, I don't know if Thomas does this, a lot of people will disable their indexes, dump data, and then re-enable them. However, when you re-enable them, if you don't have a specific with check in there, you're only enabling it, but you're not making it trusted. And that will cause a performance issue. Temp tables, it's pretty simple. If you're gonna index a temp table, create the temp table, put the data in there, and then index it. If you index it first, then put the data, your index will be stale. And I just added this in here today, actually. Just avoid table variables. They're performance killers. Smaller data, it doesn't hurt as much, but once it grows, again, that's another thing that just doesn't scale. So the best advice I could give you is stay away from table variables. Just use temp tables. And then key lookups. A key lookup exists when you have a non-clustered index and it does not quite cover all the columns you want, so it has to go over to the primary key, clustered index, to get the missing rows. Not always is this a problem, but on larger tables, it will definitely be a problem, and it also causes blocking. And its evil stepbrother is a RID lookup. And that's so you have a non-clustered index on a heap, right? So there's no clustered index, and it's missing 1 or 2 columns. It has to go into that heap looking for it. Well, a heap isn't really a performance, a positive. So this is a bad problem too. And again, I'll show you this. And then sargability. A sargable query is when a predicate can take advantage of an index. Unfortunately, there are several little things you could do on your predicate that will absolutely kill the sargability on it. and then you cannot take advantage of an index, and then you have a performance problem. And a sargable query does not have an expression on a column, and we'll show you that. And then implicit conversions, if you do not know, there's a data type hierarchy in SQL Server. When you implicitly convert or mix data types, it has to implicitly convert up to the highest one on the scale. The one that is most often is varchar and varchar. And varchar is higher, so if you were to join two tables, varchar and varchar, this has to implicitly convert up that chain, and it will definitely, it's a performance killer. Very well known. Whoops, we're not doing that yet. Okay, let me switch up. Can you see that? Can you see it in the back? Good enough? Do you need a little more?
Zoom in a little bit more.
A little bit more? Good enough? Okay, so listen, data types. This is just a very simple example. All I'm doing is pulling every column from a table. I have a predicate on the city. I have an index. The difference is data types, okay? So if you notice, I have bad table and good table. The bad table is all n-varchar. The good table does not use n-varchar. But this is what I want to show you. So when we talk about data pages, logical reads are data pages in cache, okay? So right here, the exact same amount of data, but two different data types. You can see the one with n-varchar has 143,000 data pages. The one that did not use the n-varchar has only 16,000. So that's 8 times the number of data pages you have to deal with just because of data type selection. Now here's the scary part. This is only 100,000 rows of data. So what happens when it gets up to 1 million, 10 million? This number is going to be so thrown off. And if you remember what I said, we want to store the least amount of data pages. We want to query the least amount of data pages. And obviously, the lower the amount, the less CPU hit we're going to be using when we're doing our queries. So that is how much of a difference n-varchar versus varchar is. And that's why I say if you don't have Unicode, I would say stay away from it. This one's a little bit not quite as bad. This is just int, big int. Okay. So again, this is not as bad, but again, it's the difference between a big int and int. So the big int, obviously, if you know you're going to grow, and you know it's going to go over 2 billion, 8 million, 800 million, I think. You know, integer runs out at some point. Over 2 billion, it will stop dead in its tracks. So if you know you're going to go that high, right? If you know you're going to go that high, then yes, you want it. But if you're not, then you don't want it. A big int is 8 bytes. An integer is 4 bytes. A small int is 2. And a tiny int is 1 byte. Tiny int goes 0 to 255. If your column is not going to go over 255, there is no excuse to use anything but a tiny int. Again, this will all add up. So just remember, when you're doing this, you're not going to see the performance issues up front. It's as it grows. That's why we want to address this before it gets to that point. Any questions on that one? And if you have questions at any time, raise your hand. Okay? But that's all on the data types. This one's the index duplicate. And if you want, anyone, if you want these scripts, just feel free to email me. But just so what I said earlier, so you see the bottom three are non-clustered indexes. Whoops. The key is location ID. The included columns are all the same in all three of these. See that? So again, key column order matters, included column doesn't. These bottom two are garbage. They're redundant. We don't want those. So again, if you have to update or delete or insert, you have to hit all those indexes. So just remember that. All right, we're getting there. So foreign key indexes. This script right here in any database will automatically generate foreign key indexes for you. All right? It will absolutely create, it creates them. You have to run them. But like I said, I would suggest, and some might not agree with me, and that's fine, I would always index my foreign keys right off the bat. It's a performance boost. Now, so let's look at a query, a simple query, a join. Oops. Sorry. So right here, simple query, nothing fancy. We have a seek down here, but we have a scan up here. Now, obviously, a scan isn't always necessarily bad, but a lot of times we prefer the seek. But in this case, we just don't have a foreign key index. So if I create that, let's go back. I did something wrong here. Hold on. Let's try that again. Okay, now it worked. So if we run this again, now we got the seek. So this is what we want. We want to grab it as fast as possible and the least amount as possible. So there's a perfect example on a join primary key to foreign key without the index and then with it. Foreign key enabled but not trusted.
Question, ask a question.
Sure.
So you've been saying that some people would disagree with you about indexing foreign keys. So
Well,
what is the downside of the normal overhead?
No, what I'm saying is I tell people just index them right off the bat. If you create a table, right, a couple tables, you have a foreign key, I would suggest you index it right there and then. What I'm saying is I think some DBAs that have been around longer than me would probably say, well, maybe that's not the right way to do it. That's what I meant by that.
Well, I've seen personally, basically done that where we've indexed all the four keys right out of the gate, and then I've come back once the system's been in use
Right.
for some amount of time, and I'll go through, I'll say, nothing's using this one, and I'll drop it, so that I'm not incurring overhead. Because it's similar to the duplicated indexes that you pointed out. If you've got an index that's not being used for any reads, it's just overhead on your other operations, so just go clean it up.
Right. And like he says, I do the same thing, but I just automatically do it. And again, if I can prove it's not in use, I'll get rid of it.
You can do the same with tables too. If you find tables that aren't being used.
Whole databases, instances.
So this is the foreign key enabled but not trusted. So in this database, at some point, someone did something. They went to enable it, but they did not do it properly. So it's enabled, but it's not trusted. My little script here is telling me right here that this one has an issue, right? The cool thing is this script actually gives me the fix. Now the problem with foreign key enabled but not trusted, two things. Number one, if you drop a constraint and don't put it back right, well, now you have a data integrity issue possibly. But also the query optimizer cannot use that index because it just can't. So this is a double-edged sword here. So especially like I had pointed out to Thomas, because he's the warehouse guy, if you're one of those people that disable your indexes for dumping lots of data, that's fine, but make sure you enable it correctly when you put it back, or again, you open yourself up to data integrity issues, and you will not get performance on your indexes because the query optimizer will not be able to take advantage of it.
Just to defend myself, I put foreign keys on and keep them on. I don't ever disable them. If I were, I would drop it and recreate it. That way I know it's still, but I would have a foreign key on there for data integrity. Data integrity is more important to me than doing a big bulk load as fast as I can. I mean, I just think that's period.
Yes, no, and you're right. This one is a possible, I'm not going to run this one, but to the gentleman that asked that question, this is what Kenny was talking about. This script right here will check the indexes if they aren't used. If you only are seeing, if you're only seeing writes and you don't see any reads, then it's not being used.
We used to do that at Medisys, and we would restart servers once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have the scripts all run at the end of every month to store it in a database, so we could keep track monthly of what the usage was. So we'd wait over time before we would see which ones to remove and which was the key. But remember, anytime you restart the service or your server, those statistics go away. Those DMV statistics go away.
All right, one of my favorite topics, key lookup. The simple query, but so right here, we see an index seek, and obviously we see a key lookup. Now this green create non-clustered index, I don't know how many people of you, if you ever see this, do not blindly run this. Microsoft is very aggressive on it, and there's a strong chance that might make a duplicate index actually. So take it with a grain of salt when you see that. Do not just automatically think, hey, it says it's 99% going to impact. No, that's probably not true, and I would just stay away from that. But the key lookup, here's the thing. I only have small sets of data on this. I really don't have time to give you like the bigger data sets because we'll be here for 2 hours. I don't think anyone can handle that. But it's always the DBA that says that too. Sad but true. But so the key lookup isn't so bad on the smaller tables, but when it gets to the bigger sets of bigger data sets, that's when you'll have issues. You'll get a lot of parameter sniffing problems, especially if you have, and a good example is, like we have plants at Lamar. If you have a query, it's the same as parameter sniffing, so you run a query, it goes to cache. You run a similar query, the query optimizer is going to sniff to see, do I have that up there before it goes to disk? But when there's a wide variance in like the rows you would get back, okay, where I have trouble, we have one that calls all the plants versus one individually. Well, that's a major difference in how many rows is going to come back. So that's where it's killed me quite a bit. But on the key lookup, it's just a simple, usually it's one or two, well hopefully, it's just a column or two you have to add that's missing. In this case, it's just one, it's order quantity. So we're going to add that. Okay. So we've addressed the key lookup, and as like I used to say, Thomas, the key lookup killer. And so if we run this now, see all of a sudden that green's gone. We have a clean seek. There's no key lookup. We're going to get way better performance. And then the evil stepbrother is a RID lookup. I can get this.
John, can you explain, you're assuming it's an execution plan. Can you explain to people what the execution plan is and how you get it?
Oh, okay. That's fair enough. So execution plan, the execution plan actually tells you what it's doing. It takes a while to understand it and read it. But the DBAs like myself, I look at the execution plan first and the statistics to get an idea. But it's just telling you the flow of the query, because you know it's actually the step number one is from. But basically this query is just going to a heap. The RID is the heap. I have a non-clustered index, but because it does not cover every column it's trying to get, it has to go to the heap to get what it's missing, which is this right here. Sorry, very tight room right here. So if I index that real quick, let's do this. Again, instead of that RID lookup, we have a nice clean seek. That's what we want. Less data pages, better performance. I think I'm done with that one. Okay, moving on. Sargability. Okay, so I have two simple queries here. All I'm selecting is one column, same table, but we're doing a little different how I'm getting this. One has a function here, and one's just a straight where. But and I didn't even show this on the key lookup. So again, remember I said logical reads. We want the least amount of logical reads. 2,000, and we have 760. So the top one needs 3 times the amount of data pages. Takes a little bit longer. Whoops. Oh man. Sorry. And again, here's the big difference. All because of how we did it on the predicate on the where, okay? The one that had the function on the column cannot seek. It cannot take advantage of the index, so it's going to scan it. That's why it has 3 times the amount of data pages, and you see the pipe right here is fatter. Down here, our query is sargable, so we get the seek, and we go for 3 times less data pages. So that's one example. Here's another one with dates. So again, all I'm doing is selecting one column from a table, but it's the difference in how I do it.
So does that mean a function on the left side
Yes.
is bad?
Yes, so functions on the left of the sign is the problem here. So if you look at the data pages, again, look at the difference. 10,000 versus 500 pages. All because of that function on the predicate. And then if we look at the execution plan, so here there's two differences. Obviously the one on top was non-sargable, so it had to scan. The one on the bottom gets to seek, but now we have this other little thing up here. This is parallelism. So remember when I told you about parallelism, because the query optimizer, the cost of this query, the query optimizer says, I want multiple threads. So not only is it taking 3 times the amount of data page, well, way more data pages, it's scanning, but now it wants multiple threads, all for the same thing. This is why this is a big deal. Keep in mind, this is just me demoing to you. Think about if this is one of your apps and it gets called daily, and you got a bunch of users. Add all that up. That's where it'll bite you. I got 2 more of these bad boys. Same thing, very simple here. I'm just going to select all from star. I got that from the developer. He showed me. So I have to throw that in there. Again, let's take a look. So again, almost 4,000 data pages to 20. Again, this is just because of what you do with your predicate. It changes it that much. And on this one's a little different, okay? It's the symbols, but in this case, it doesn't like when it says it includes wood. It's totally fine when it starts with it. So that's how much of a little difference your query performance will totally change just because of that. And of course, like all the others, the non-sargable one will scan. The sargable one will get a nice seek and come back fast. One more. So again, in SQL Server, there's always more than one way to grab your data, right? The key is to do it the proper way so you have a sargable query. Just a little difference, and again, like Thomas mentioned, this is the killer right here, the function on the column. Before that. You notice this is afterwards. So let's look at this one. That's not really much data in this. But again, 73 pages to 2 pages. And when we look at the execution plan, same thing. The non-sargable is a scan, so it'll take a little longer, probably take more data pages. And then of course the sargable one is the seek. So like I just showed you 4 different examples where just one little thing at the end changes the whole performance. Way more data pages, more CPU, and it takes more time. And there's a bunch of stuff out there to find out what is sargable and what is not. All right, now implicit conversions. So this is data type. This is implicit conversion is when your data types don't match. So if you notice, I'm doing the exact same thing, but one's an nvarchar, one I'm calling the varchar. Let's look at the difference. Again, just because of the data type, we need 16,000 data pages. The bottom one, we just need 6. So again, you see how much of a difference it causes when you do that.
So it's converting.
It's converting them, correct?
In the where clause, carrier tracking number is a varchar
Yep.
table. And because add tracking is an nvarchar, it converts the varchar to nvarchar and doesn't try to convert the nvarchar to varchar.
Correct. And here we go again, what I just showed you last time. We have, this is right here, this is the implicit conversion.
Should fix that bogey.
Well, it's slanted. Here, let me get my pointer on there, if I can. Let's just die. So you can see it right there. This exclamation mark, anytime you see this, it's basically telling you got a problem. We have a problem here. And right here, convert implicit. Any yellow sign like that is a problem. And we have parallelism. So we need multiple threads because we didn't match our data type. One more. And then this is a little bit different, but similar. And when I go to the execution plan, it's telling me same thing. I have an implicit conversion. Now here's the catch. There's a reason why I did this one. Anyone want to guess why this is an implicit conversion?
Customer ID is a varchar.
Customer ID is a varchar.
All you do is change that really in your declare.
Right. My point, the reason why I said this, because I had one time where I questioned a developer on something, and I said, hey, did you know? And when I pointed out that the number was actually something else, he actually said, I didn't realize that. So the point being, don't assume when you see numbers in a result, do not assume numbers are integer, or because you have no idea who's created that or how they did it. But that's why I showed that one.
The change, trying to get them to change now, they have a key between 2 different databases, and one of them is nvarchar, and the other one is a GUI.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably, that right there is probably the worst one you can have. So he fills it.
Is there a telesense now in Management Studio to hover over a column and see the data type? Like in the where clause, if you
Oh, no.
hover over customer ID.
Oh, no.
Is that,
It does it when it wants to.
doesn't
I
do
don't think
that?
it's built into the Management Studio in IntelliSense, but if you have something like SQL prompt,
Is that it used to show the
yeah,
whole
SQL
table
prompt will
structure.
show you the whole definition.
Okay, so that's SQL prompt. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was from Management Studio.
Okay, one more. We're almost done here with the demos. Same thing, I'm just doing a temp table. I'm just creating a temp table, inserting and joining on a temp table from another table. So there's a little more involved in this. Where is it? But you can see right here, same thing. Yellow exclamation mark means there's a problem. In this case, it is an implicit conversion. The bottom one is not. And again, if you look, varchar and nvarchar. So one was called correctly, it's fine. The other one didn't match, so it did it for it, but it also comes at a price. So let me see here. So we discussed all those I talked about. If this will do it. Okay, scenario time. Every DBA has listened to something like this.
We're seeing that. You're good, sorry.
Good. So, something that commonly happens to a DBA is a conversation like this. Sometimes it's polite, sometimes it's not, but very similar. Hey, DBA, my report only takes this long in dev. It's running way longer in production. Your server sucks. Fix it. So here's the funny thing. This might actually surprise you. I'm not going to necessarily say this is wrong. Could very well be right. Could have got better performance in dev. But I know why. So let's think about development, right? We have a batch server running random jobs, 3 applications that are testing randomly throughout the day when they're not playing games or whatever, and 2 developers randomly testing code on a different database. The reason why I'm telling you this is because no one's using the server. You're not fighting for resources. You're not fighting for the data pages, memory. You're not fighting anyone. It would be like you driving at 4 in the morning to your building versus 8 in Baton Rouge. It's not the same thing. So let's look at production now. We got 3 batch servers running 10,000 jobs a day, 12 applications running daily, and a ridiculous amount of users non-stop. That is why there's a difference in performance. Even more so if you're not taking the time to choose your data types properly, if you don't match your data types, if you are not creating sargable queries, and everything you are writing needs parallelism, yes, in production, your performance is going to tank. That's why it's so important to do all this stuff, because once it goes to production, you cannot mimic production. Any of your testing will not mimic production. Your UAT, QA, whatever, it's not the same thing. That's why it is so important to do everything that we talked about. Because once it goes to production, that's the real test. You're not going to fight with anyone in dev, staging, QA. Production, everything changes. And I hear the same thing all the time. It only took this long in dev. Well, yeah, because no one else is using it. So let's close this out. Again, when you write your queries, when you want to pull your data, you think in sets. You want to grab it all at one time. Avoid the row by agonizing row. I know you C# developers love your loops and cursors. That's great when you're doing that. But once you're going into SQL, row by agonizing row is not good. If you don't know scalar UDFs, keep it that way. Same thing. Triggers, if you have to use them, fine. Again, they all do the same thing. And you take a hit on cost for that. Fit as many rows of data in a data page as you can. When you're creating a table, you should sit there column by column and pick it apart to get it as small as possible. Again, if it's a number, does it go over 255? Because if it doesn't, it's a tiny int. No exceptions. If you don't have Unicode, stay away from nvarchar. All that stuff adds up, and remember, Your performance won't be the same with a fresh set of data versus what it's going to look like 5 years from now. And anyone here who's been at the same place long enough can be lucky enough to say, hey, they end up going back to something they did 5, 6 years ago and they don't remember. They look at it and they say, who the heck wrote this code? And then they find out it was them 5 years ago. It happens. But this is how you do it. Data types matter. Choose them wisely. Again, if you don't have Unicode, stay away from nvarchar. Ensure you're not creating duplicate indexes. If you email me, I'll give you this script. You could check any of your databases. Index your foreign keys. Ensure your foreign keys are enabled and trusted. And again, just like Thomas mentioned, if you do drop those and you don't enable them properly, then you've lost data integrity, and then you've got a big problem. And even though I'm a DBA and I think and performance is like the big thing to me, he is right. Data integrity by far is more important. If you don't have data integrity, you're in trouble.
You can't get the wrong answer fast enough.
Correct. Index your temp tables after the data is inserted. Cover your query to remove a key lookup. Again, I used to throw it out there, the key lookup killer. If I see a key lookup, I get rid of it. I will admit I've backed off a little bit. I'm not as hardcore, but at one point I literally just would cover it because I've seen too much damage from them. And again, it's Ugly Brothers, the RID lookup. Ensure your queries are sargable. That was probably the most examples I gave you where just one little difference on the predicate completely changes your performance. Whether it's 20 the times the data pages, twice the performance, scan to seek, or parallelism. And implicit conversions. That one's simple. Just match your data types. Varchar, varchar, nvarchar, nvarchar. I'll throw another thing since I'm thinking about it. Data drift. Has anyone heard that term? Data drift? So any of you developers, there's probably several tables where you have the same column somewhere, whether it's city, state. Let's say you have city 10 different places. Is it the same data type in every spot? Because it should be. Is first name the same everywhere? I mean, across the board. It's way easier if it all matches across the board. My personal preference, I know they're retired, but these are still available on Pluralsight. If you have a Pluralsight, this is the gold standard right here, if you know who she is. And then Darling Data or Brenos are just the same. There's a lot of stuff there. I like Eric personally. I just did his pre-con in Dallas. But him, if you're interested, you know, my story is a little different. I was not an IT guy, okay? My story is totally different. I was in an accident. I was forced into a desk, and I was basically told you can do IT or sales. Well, I'm not a good liar, so I knew what I had to do, and I made it happen. The SQL community and how good it is why I thrived, because there's so much good info out there. But like I said, when you get with it, like this guy, some of the conferences obviously are thousands of dollars. This guy, what he charges for his online classes, honestly, it's kind of, it's very low. Yeah, you know, I mean, I have more than one of his for life because it's so cheap. But if you're willing to invest in yourself, probably the best thing that I ever read on Twitter one time was don't wait. I hear a lot of people will say, well, my company doesn't pay for my training. A lot of places don't, but don't wait for anyone to invest in yourself, in you. Invest in yourself. It's worth it. The ROI will pay for itself. I forked out a lot of cash several years ago. When I was attending SQL Saturday way back in the day, before I even started to speak, I was spending like $8,000 a year out of my own pocket. I'm not saying I had it, but it paid for itself. I can't stress to you enough. But anyways, that's my story. First time speaking in 6 years, so a little shaky. But again, this is my email. If you have any questions or you want the scripts, email me. I'll send them to you.